All right, check this out. This ultra armor has wall hacks. Boom. Did you see that? Look at this outline right here. I can see the enemy through the wall. Look at this.
Need help, bro?
You see that?
I see him through the. I see him, bro. You have the armor that locates them, right?
Yep, teammate had the ultra armor that allows you to see the enemies through walls. Now check out this one. Check out this clip right here. This is a different ultra armor.
There's one. Bro, he's low. He's low.
Did you see that? You see that light right there? That's the flashbang that the ultra armor, one of these ultra armors actually supposed to have. That's supposed to blind your enemy. Do I look blinded? Not really, huh? Now check out this one.
Near here. Got one down. It's a different team.
All right, I take on a 1v2.
Dang.
They do some damage on me, about a plate and a half, but this ultra armor has 6 plates. 6 plates. Even against the toxic striker before it was nerfed. Point blank. Watch. Look at this. Point blank striker. It nearly killed me, but I still survived against the striker before it was debuffed, before it was nerfed. So that is what these ultra armors can do, and I'm going to be breaking down in this video exactly how they work. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Santos, and I'm a lifelong gamer with a wife, a dog, a career, and a passion for shooters. I've been playing Call of Duty Mobile for a few years now, and when DMZ mode came out, I jumped at both feet in, reaching the top 500 leaderboard within the first few days and unlocking Quiji in about 30 hours of gameplay and 100 crates. Now, I release tips and tricks videos, sharing with you my best strategies on how to dominate the game. So let me start this by showing you why Ultra Armor is so powerful and how Ultra Damage Multipliers actually work. Okay, so if you look at what's called the Armor Damage Multiplier details, right, this is something that you can find inside of your gunsmith of any weapon. If you go into your, let's say, a Mythic VMP here, you go into your gunsmith and you hit these 3 lines and then you go to Armor Damage Multiplier, you're going to get this table. And this is the exact same table you get no matter what weapon you go into, you see, whether that's an ultra weapon, marksman like this SO14, or whether that's the VMP, it's going to be the exact same table. And the reason it's the same table is because this is the way that damage multipliers work across the board. The only 2 things that matter for damage multipliers is the rarity, okay, the rarity of the weapon and the rarity of the armor. The rarity of the weapon and the rarity of the armor will tell you what damage multiplier you're going to be getting. Okay, so let's say, for example, that the enemy has a legendary weapon, which is quite common still today. Maybe they have a mythic, right, or a legendary weapon, and you have your ultra armor, okay, that you pulled out of the Atlas laboratory because you followed the video, you grinded, you got the money, and you were able to acquire an ultra armor. What happens? Well, the legendary weapon is going to shoot and only do 0.7 damage to this ultra armor. What that means is this legendary weapon is going to hit 30% less than it's supposed to. All the damage stats that legendary weapon is supposed to be doing, all the damage it's supposed to be doing is going to be nerfed by 0.7. It is almost like you get a 30% advantage in terms of your armor. It dampens, it nerfs their weapon by 30%. You see, it gives you 30% stronger defense when you go up against legendary weapons. If the enemy has a mythic weapon, then that means you are going to have 0.85, what's that? 15%. You're going to have a 15% stronger defense. Their weapon is going to do 15% less damage than it normally would against a mythic armor wearing person. Okay, so basically, if you think of it this way, every rarity, let's say weapon rarity, like every legendary weapon was made to go up against a legendary armor. So when a legendary weapon goes against a legendary armor, there is no debuff. It's 1-to-1. That's kind of what it's supposed to be, right? When an epic weapon goes up against an epic armor, it's just 1-to-1. There is no debuff, there is no advantage, there's no nerf, there's no buff, there's no multiplier. It's just 1-to-1. You see, when a mythic weapon goes up against a mythic armor, it's 1-to-1. There is no damage multiplier, there is no damage nerf. When an ultra weapon goes up against an ultra armor, there is no damage multiplier. It's just 1-to-1. Yeah. However, if an ultra weapon goes up against a mythic armor, there's a 10% buff on the weapon. Okay, a 10% buff on the weapon. The weapon hits 10% harder. You see, same thing is true for mythic weapons. If a mythic weapon goes up against a legendary armor, it gets a 10% buff, right? So the most common scenarios here are you have ultra armor, right? And the enemy only has legendary armor, for example. Sorry, legendary weapon. So the legendary weapon shooting your ultra armor is only going to hit 0.7. It's going to feel like they're shooting marshmallows at you, right? And you're going to feel invincible. The opposite is true. If the enemy has ultra armor and you haven't updated your weapons and you're only at legendary weapon, you're going to feel like you're shooting marshmallows at them. This is why, okay? And if you're running a mythic weapon, that's still 15% weaker, okay? You're still going to hit 15% weaker to all of the ultra armors, regardless of what their special effects are. Just because the rarity of that armor is ultra, it means that every weapon that is mythic is going to hit 15% less hard than it normally would, or every legendary weapon is going to hit 30% less hard, or God forbid the poor soul only has an epic weapon and shoots you, that only is going to do 50% of the damage that it's supposed to do, you see? So to fight an ultra armor wearing enemy, you must have an ultra weapon or a mythic weapon with like a big mag or a damage affix on it. Because if your mythic weapon has a damage affix of say 20% to the torso, for example, or 20% to the upper body, now you're going to be doing 1-to-1. In fact, 5% harder than an ultra even, right? So a mythic weapon with a 20% damage affix is going to hit as hard as an ultra weapon does against ultra armor. Does that make sense? Hope that's making sense. Okay, so just to kind of summarize this part, weapon rarity is all that matters when going up against armor rarity. Ultra armor is made to go up against ultra weapons. Ultra weapons are made to go up against ultra armor. If you have a mismatch, if the rarity of the weapon you have is lower than the rarity of the armor you are fighting, you are going to get a debuff on the damage that you are doing against the enemy. And if your armor is more rare than the weapon that you are being shot with, you are going to get a buff to your defense. You are going to be stronger and more invincible to the enemy because your armor is more rare than their weapon. How much you get, how much damage multiplier you get, depends on the difference between the rarity. If you have ultra armor and the enemy only has mythic, you are going to get a 15% damage advantage, right? If they have legendary, it's going to be 30%. And if they have epic, it's going to be 50%. You see, this is why ultra armor is so OP. Now, if you are going up against ultra weapons or mythic weapons that have damage affixes on them, then you're going to want to take a closer look at what the special effects of each of the ultra armors are so that you can, choose what the best ultra armor actually is. Right now, just having ultra armor is going to make a big difference, right? But if you do have a choice between which ultra armors you want to use, then let's go ahead and jump into which of the ultra armors that we have available really is the best in this season. And let's go ahead and jump into that. Hey, just wanted to take a moment to invite you to the CODM DMZ Legends community. We are the largest DMZ community and have almost 2,000 members in here. We got people in here looking for teammates, right? Trying to find good players to play with, people who aren't just going to steal your loot and run off, right? People who are actually going to work together because DMZ is a team-focused game. If you feel like this might be something that could be fun for you, if you're looking for players to play with and play DMZ with, come check it out, hang out, check out the Discord. We look forward to seeing you in here. And for now, enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so let's say you unlocked a bunch of ultra armor and you're actually trying to decide which one is the best, right? Which one's actually worth using. And you already understand that all of the ultra armors are going to be stronger than any of the mythic armors, of course, and it's going to provide you this damage multiplier against every mythic weapon, against every legendary weapon, against every epic weapon that you see out there. So which of these four is actually the best? And let's go through what their special effects are to figure out what that is, okay? So the Delta armor here, it covers the entire body, as we can see here. And it says the special effect is when the armor is in full, empty armor slots increase player stats, okay? So what does that mean? Well, it means that as you take damage, your stats increase. I don't know exactly how much that is. Unfortunately, I can't test these armors in the training ground, so I can't measure exactly how much it boosts my stats. But I have used this armor quite a lot, and I'll tell you that the boost to my stats isn't so strong that I notice. So from my point of view, this armor is kind of just mid. You got 4 plates on it. It's strong. It's supposed to make you more resilient as you take damage, but I'm not really feeling that big of a difference as I go down compared to the other ultra armors. So I would rate this just kind of mid. Gamma armor. Gamma armor releases a flashbang grenade when the armor breaks. And as you saw earlier in the video, the flashbang is kind of useless, especially at mid range, which is when I encountered it. It doesn't seem to really be doing all that much for the person who is wearing that armor. It just seems to flash and be like, okay, a little bit in your face. It almost makes it easier to spot the enemy when the flashbang goes off. You can see this guy right here is wearing the gamma armor.
He's low.
I crack him there, and boom,
He's low.
You see that? He glows white when his armor cracks, and that's supposed to make him harder to hit or somehow like blind me. But not only does it not blind me, it in fact just shows me exactly where he is. So I don't really see the gamma armor even being all that useful. In fact, it's almost not. It's almost the opposite. It's almost like more dangerous to wear, because when you get cracked, if it's mid range or long range, you're just going to expose your position more easily, make yourself easier to hit. I don't see the advantage of this armor in terms of this special effect much at all. I mean, I'd wear it if it was the only ultra armor I had, but I don't really see a massive advantage on this one. We have the obsidian armor. And the obsidian armor says that under certain conditions, it grants a shield that blocks 1 instance of any damage. And what this means is that if you get shot by a shotgun, the first shot doesn't count at all. It doesn't do any damage at all, right? If you get shot by a sniper, right, no damage taken at all from the first shot. For that reason, I would say the obsidian armor is actually quite strong, and personally is my second favorite. I would use the obsidian armor over pretty much every other armor except the alpha armor, as you'll see in a moment. I'll tell you why. But if I didn't have alpha armor, I would be using obsidian, just in case I run into a sniper or I run into a striker or something that hits really, really hard. It's going to absorb that first shot of damage, effectively giving me, let's say, an extra plate. So instead of 4 plates, this one feels like I'm running a 5 plate, or like I'm running a 5.5 plate, depending on how hard that first shot would have hit. Of course, if it goes up against an AR, then it's really only like wearing an extra half plate. So not the super strongest in my opinion, but it's still quite nimble. It doesn't feel tanky. It replenishes plates quite quickly. So I like this armor a lot. I would call it my second favorite. Then of course you have my personal favorite, which is the alpha armor. The alpha armor has 6 plates, and a special effect is that it has a high armor capacity but reduces the max HP. What reduction in max HP does it actually have? Honestly, I can't tell. I've used this armor a lot and I do not notice my max HP being less than. I don't notice the number being lower. I don't notice anything negative about this armor other than slow plating. It feels like I'm plating more slowly when I use this armor. But what I have done is I have countered this by using medic. So I'm using the medical talent and I am maxing out quick fix. Okay, so I max out quick fix. That way I increase the armor plating speed, and I am able to increase the plating speed by 30%, making me damn near invincible. I have 6 plates, and as I take damage, I just quick fix and replate, and it's very, very, very strong. Also, the cluster smoke that grants damage reduction while inside the smoke is super, super strong, because if I fight in or near my smoke, it's almost like I have 7 plates or 8 plates on me, which makes me damn near invincible when I wear this thing. And so I highly, highly recommend running the alpha armor with a medical talent maxed out with quick fix, and with the cluster smoke that grants damage reduction. What I've been doing is I've been having two people in the team running that exact same medic loadout. That way the entire team gets these benefits, and we are very quick to replate. And so that this makes the alpha armor truly be alpha, like the peak, the pinnacle, the best out of these weapons. Out of these ultra armors. And it's because it has so many plates. It's because it has 6 plates, and then with the medic, it makes it easier to recover, to replate, and it makes it harder to lose damage when you're in your smoke. So for that reason, the alpha armor really is the strongest ultra armor in my opinion this season. And having used all the armors, all the different ultra armors for a bunch of different games, I find myself feeling safer, feeling stronger, and feeling damn near invincible with this alpha armor, especially when going up against people that do not have ultra weapons. If they do have ultra weapons, then it feels like, okay, now we're in for a fight, and it takes longer than it would normally with mythic armor, because I'm just harder to kill. But of course, you can still die. So you got to be careful for sure going up against ultra weapons. But yeah, this alpha armor really is the best in my opinion right now, especially when run in combo with that medic, with that medic skill tree talent point distribution. So I highly recommend doing that. And if you want to feel invincible in the battlefield, and if you don't have an alpha armor, you didn't get one from your Atlas Lab pull, then just run the obsidian. Or if you don't have obsidian, any ultra armor is going to be very strong right now. It's going to be much stronger than running a mythic armor for sure. So that's pretty much what I got for you here today. Good luck in pulling this alpha armor from the lab, and see you out there. Peace.